In this video, I'm going to show you how to have the perfect start in The Witcher 3. What's up everyone, Big Dan here. I make videos about RPGs, and today I'm going to show you how to get the best armor, weapons, and other things you need to have the best start possible in The Witcher 3. By watching this guide, you'll have everything you need to dominate the early game up until about level 15. So without further ado, let's buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and dive into the video.
Claimed she was his niece from Kovir. Horvir, more likely.
After hopping out of the bathtub in Kaer Morn, getting blue-balled by Yennefer, and waking up from your nightmare, Geralt and Vesemir will head into White Orchard in search of brew and bitches. At this point, you'll be unleashed into a small open-world zone that serves as the game's tutorial. The first thing I like to do when starting a new playthrough is to collect the Viper Sword diagrams, which will allow you to craft the best swords available in this zone. The first diagram will be in the crypt next to the Place of Power at this point on the map. Defeat the Wraith inside and then loot the chest to get the Serpentine Silver Sword diagram. This can be a tough fight depending on your skill level and difficulty setting, so one tip is that Wraiths are weak to the Yrden sign. So just cast that and you should be able to wipe the floor with that ghostly bitch. The diagram for the Steel Sword is in a bandit camp at this location on the map. Follow this path to reach the chest. Now that we have the diagrams, we'll need to actually craft the swords, which we can do by visiting the quartermaster at the Nilfgaardian garrison at this location on the map. If you don't have all the crafting materials yet, I recommend checking the following locations. There is an abandoned stash of goods you can locate under a bridge at this location on the map. I also recommend looting all the houses in the main village and searching around this part of the map to loot bandit camps and the like. Most of the loot in this game is randomized, so there is a bit of RNG to what you find, but if you're thorough, you should be able to collect all the mats you need to craft the Viper swords pretty quickly. If you're hard up for mats, also be sure to see what you can dismantle at the quartermaster, because you might already have the materials and not know it yet. Many key components you'll need to craft weapons can be recovered by breaking down other weapons or junk items like jewelry. One item I was having trouble finding in this playthrough was emerald dust, which I eventually ended up buying from a vendor, and immediately after I bought it, I found some jewelry that I could have broken down into emerald dust, but hey, them's the breaks. Anyhow, the Viper, Steel, and Silver swords will easily carry you through the starter zone of White Orchard until we replace them with some gear we can snag in Vizima. But now we need some new drip to improve our defensive capabilities. The first thing we'll want to do is upgrade our current Kaer Morn armor set, which we can do by completing the Dwarven Armorer's side quests at this point on the map. Speak to Willis and investigate the clues to figure out who burned down his forge. At the end of the quest, I decided to turn in the arsonist. Once the quest is complete, you can unlock his armorer services, which will give you the option to upgrade your Kaer Morn armor to the Warrior's Leather Jacket. This is basically the best light armor set that you can use in the starter zone, but the creme de la creme of this zone is the Temerian armor set, which we can purchase from the merchant with the terrible bowl cut at this location on the map. The main catch with this armor set is that you cannot equip it until you reach level 4, which means we really won't be able to use it until we leave White Orchard. I completed literally everything on the map in this zone, every map marker, every contract and side quest, and I didn't reach level 4 until after killing the Griffin and linking up with Yennefer. The full Temerian armor set will cost around 800 crowns, which you should be able to raise by completing quests, looting, and selling off excess gear you recover all around White Orchard. If you're really hard up for money, I recommend selling extra glyphs. These items fetch good money, are plentiful, and don't really provide that much of a stat boost at this point in the game. But now that we have our weapons and armor, let's touch on some other important things we'll want to do before we leave White Orchard. And the first thing you'll want to do is smash that like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos on RPGs. We'll also want to locate and interact with all places of power in White Orchard. These pillars grant us a temporary boost to our sign power, but more importantly give us an ability point which we can spend to upgrade Geralt's powers. There are 6 total places of power spread over White Orchard. I'll leave the map on screen here for a little bit in case you want to screenshot it. I also recommend completing all the side quests and contracts in this zone before you complete the Lilac and Gooseberry's main quest. Some of the side quests will permanently fail if you don't complete them before moving on to Vizima. And overall, I recommend taking your time in this zone, especially if it's your first playthrough. Personally, I like to clear all of the question mark points of interest on the map, as they are a good source of loot and experience at this point in the game. One more thing you'll want to do is craft some of your first potions and bombs in the alchemy menu. If you're thoroughly looting, you should stumble upon a few alchemical recipes out in the world, that you can also purchase recipes from herbalist vendors like Temerian, who you'll speak to during the On Death's Bed side quest. At this point in the game, some really useful recipes are Swallow's Potion, which makes you hot or heal over time. You also want any kind of bomb capable of destroying monsters' nests like Grape Shot or Samus, and a few different kinds of specialized oils, which will give you a damage bonus against specific enemy types. In the early game, you'll be fighting a lot of necrophages and wraiths, so necrophage oil and specter oil are good to get ASAP. And that's basically everything we need to do in White Orchard. At this point, you should be ready to slay the Griffin and meet up with that baddie Yennefer before moving on to Vizima. Once we've met with Emperor Emir and plotted our next move with Yennefer, we'll want to loot a chest full of top-notch relic gear that was added in the next-gen update to The Witcher 3. In order to unlock this, you'll need to create a free GOG account and link it up with your game. Then you will find a chest full of gear at this location on the map in the Vizima Castle. Follow this path from the fast travel point to find the chest. The first set is the Armor and Swords of 1,000 Flowers, and it's basically the best gear you can equip from level 7 up to 11. You'll start using these to replace the Viper Swords and Temerian armor once you hit level 7. The second set is the Swords of the Nine-Tailed Vixen and the White Tiger of the West armor set, which you can equip at level 11. There is a better set of Witcher gear that we can get at level 11, but this set of gear is completely free and super easy to get. If for some reason you cannot retrieve these armor sets from Vizima, don't worry, I'll show you a few alternatives you can pick up in the next section, so let's travel to Velen.
I can't believe we fucked.
After leaving Vizima, we'll arrive at the Hangman's Tree fast travel point in Velen, which is the primary open world map of the whole game, really. I'll show you the best gear you can find for the early game in this section of the world, but first I want to show you a little trick to get a lot more money at this point in the game. One of the first things I like to do is make a beeline to Novigrad and head to Vivaldi's Bank at this location on the map. But in order to reach Novigrad, we'll first need to cross the border post crossing, which requires a pass or letter of safe conduct to get through the Redanian army's blockade. There are a few ways to pull this off. First, we can complete the Fake Papers side quest to receive a forged pass. We can also complete the Witcher contract for the Redanian guard outside the outpost to receive a pass from him. Or we can complete the main story in Velen and get a letter of safe conduct from the Baron, but that is the longest and most cucked way to do it. If you're feeling a bit more daring, you can skip all of this bullshit and steal a boat and sail past the blockade, flipping a middle finger to the Redanians once you do. However you manage to do it, once you pass the border outpost, then just head into Novigrad, go to Vivaldi's Bank, and exchange your currency to get a bunch of extra crowns. You can even take out a loan from Vivaldi and leave Yennefer holding the bag if you so choose. Now that our pockets are a bit heavier, let's go find a few more silver swords that we can snag out in the open world. Head to this island just off of Fyke Isle to discover a hidden treasure chest sunken underwater. This chest contains the Deithwen sword, which is a good option for the early game. We'll also want to grab the Moonblade, which is also underwater at this location on the map. Just beware the drowners, loot the key from the body next to the chest, and then get the Moonblade. Deithwen and the Moonblade have lower base damage than the Thousand Flowers Silver Sword. However, these swords do have 3 rune slots, which can potentially give you more damage depending on what kind of glyphs you can slot into it. Once you approach level 11, now is a good time to grab all of the diagrams for the Griffin School Witcher set, complete with a full set of armor and 2 swords. We'll need to visit 3 separate locations to collect all the diagrams. The 4-piece armor diagrams can be snagged at Dragon Slayer's Grotto at this location on the map. This dungeon has a few dangers lurking inside, including some wraiths, poisonous gas, and an Ekimara, so be prepared. To reach the diagrams, we'll need to blast through 2 different walls using Ard, and defeat the aforementioned monsters before looting the diagrams from a nearby chest. The Griffin Steel Sword can be found at Hindhold at this location on the map. The area is overrun with Andregas and Harpies, so be prepared for a fight. You'll find the Steel Sword diagram at the top of the tower. The Griffin Silver Sword is way over here on the map inside a lighthouse tower in Lornruck. Annoyingly, the drawbridge is up, so you'll either need to swim into an underwater cave beneath the collapsing structure, or pull off an insane jump across the gap, which is what I did. The diagram will be stored just at the top of this exposed structure. Pro tip, if you're looking for a blacksmith capable of actually crafting these swords, then head to Oxenfurt and go to this location to find one. The Griffin School set is slightly better than the White Tiger of the West armor and swords of the Nine-Tailed Vixen, but obviously requires a bit more work and crafting materials to acquire it. But in any case, at this point you'll have everything you need to dominate The Witcher 3 in the early game. So there you have it. We've covered exactly what you need to do to have the perfect start in The Witcher 3 and get everything set up right. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more RPG videos and guides. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.